This podcast is supported by Siemens, your partner for industrial-grade AI.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our Industrial AI podcast. My name is Robert Weber, and in this episode we are joined by our US correspondent, Professor Dr. Jakub Tomczak. We recorded the episode, I think, 2 weeks ago. I was in Istanbul and Jakub was in San Francisco, and it's a quite interesting episode, so enjoy listening. Jakub, last time we talked a lot about time series, right? And today I want to start briefly with world models, an old concept that it's experiencing a revival. What is your view on this? Is there a revival when it comes to world models?
Right. This is actually a very good question. I think that, first and foremost, everyone in the Bay Area, I think, but in general in the US, everyone is super excited about this, OpenAI, Anthropic, fully scaling LLMs through
Claude.
Yes, exactly, and through orchestration and agents, right? So everything is still about agents. There are many companies that follow the same trends, but also on the other hand, there's really, to some degree at least, there's nothing against having word models embedded, right, through these MCPs and whatnot. So we can think of it as LLM being these interfaces and then some word models under the hood. And this is happening, right? And especially in life and molecular sciences, there's definitely a need for models, also physics-based applications. So there's no doubt about it. And I think it would be really hard without word models because it's just simply hard to get enough data for that.
But what is the difference between a foundation model and a world model per definition? What is different?
So I'm not maybe the best person to ask about these things because I simply don't care,
is
what
it
we
foundation
think about.
or world? Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I would say that to me, world models are more fundamental. They could be they don't necessarily constrain themselves to be data-centric. They could be very symbolic. They could be some, set of ODEs, or it could be something that, like a model trains some specific part of our world. So I know that people are really obsessed with this, word models being again, neural networks trained on data alone. But to me, word models are really going beyond that.
Okay. What does that mean beyond? So combining neurosymbolic world models, or because this is a concept by Jürgen, right? Schmidhuber.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Everything is coming back now with Jürgen.
Yes, but I think so. So again, I'm not saying, these very popular maybe opinions, but to me, there's this, we also talked about it in October. To me, there's this AI and AI, right? So one people will say that, just throw more data and the super AGI will appear. Maybe, I don't know. To me, I'm more down to earth. So I really would prefer to use all available knowledge and data in whatever form. So yes, to me, these days, I think neurosymbolic AI is something that we haven't taken fully advantage of. And maybe we should really look into that more. And I think now it's a very good moment for that.
Mm-hmm. But isn't that a little bit surprising that we are now coming back to a neurosymbolic approach?
Well, I would say that maybe it's a little bit surprising that we didn't look into that earlier, maybe. There were, of course, I know personally amazing scientists, colleagues in Europe especially, that really look into that. I also heard that people start looking to that in the USA, especially in I think in Southern California, but also UC Berkeley, so on. So people start looking to that because they simply start realizing that, hey, we have all these available models. We can call them word models, simulators, whatever. And why do we want to reinvent a wheel, right? If we can use that, So let's apply it because it will be most probably faster and cheaper. And then maybe, of course, I already hear people saying like, yeah, but we human beings, we also don't have maybe ODs in our heads, but we still understand physics. I fully agree with that. I'm just trying to be more pragmatic.
I see. So you already mentioned Europe. Is it a chance for Europe to not maybe lead, but maybe a little bit lead the way when it comes to world models?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Europe is very well positioned to do that. I think that right now in the US, I see these trends. Of course, the US is like a whole continent, so there are like many teams, many labs working on amazing stuff. But what we have in the, let's say, in the mainstream. So we hear all the time about this data-centric approach. Agents, as you mentioned, OpenClaw, right? And another big news is like literally, like I think 2 days ago on the Valentine's Day or something, Peter Steinberger has joined OpenAI, right? So this tells a lot. What are the trends
in the US?
In the US, and this maybe longish intro. I just want to highlight that yes, I think there is a chance for Europe to really look into something else, and this neurosymbolic could be by Europeans, our chance. Because again, we have amazing researchers that are open-minded. And by that, I mean that they are not like this symbolic AI people saying like, oh, you see this data-centric, like these neural nets don't work. No, they work, right? But we need to be like smart how we combine these things. Like, I mean, symbolic knowledge, this data-centric knowledge or data-centric models, because we can get relatively easily, we can get great boosts, right? And I think we should really take advantage of that. Like, for instance, NextAI, right? Like in Austria, right? We have NextAI that they took advantage of how to prepare training data, right? Using human knowledge to train these time series models. You know more about it for sure. We have another example of MEAI. They also now publish this library for physics-based simulations. Like, this is what I'm talking about. These applications that maybe Europe can shine, because following these trends, yeah, we know how many billions are invested in Anthropic and OpenAI. So is it worth to try to follow the same trends or to be smarter and look for something? Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah. But when it comes now to neurosymbolic, as you mentioned, time series, as you mentioned, simulation, then the whole topic is that you need to understand and you need to be good in math at the end, right? So is that the point? Very important and crucial part is math at the end then.
I wouldn't say maybe only math. Math is crucial for sure.
Yeah.
But it is also super important to understand, for instance, biology, chemistry, physics.
Sure, your domain.
Yes, exactly.
Combining the domain. But yeah, there is a neural network approach there. There is a machine learning approach in there. But you also need a part where math plays a crucial role in that.
Yes, that's true. And that's why I'm also thinking that actually Europe is well positioned, because still Europe has this advantage of having pretty good education. And that it's like uniformly, I would say, good across Europe. And we shouldn't be afraid of math. Like, we shouldn't be lazy. That's the point, right? And it's like I see all the time that, okay, now we are, I think, hitting really this almost trillion parameters of neural nets becoming like almost standard, right? I saw recently there were these models of 700 billion parameters. It's fine. But what's the point of that, right? If we cannot, like I'm really thinking, when will be the moment that people realize that, yeah, we still can't run those LLMs on smartphones, right? Because of the batteries. We can run almost anything on our laptops. So really, what's the point, right? It's like when we are getting this money back. I saw a business model of buying subscriptions, fine. But we know that it's not sustainable.
Absolutely. That's interesting, because we see a lot of interest when it comes, for example, I talk now about time series. The interest is coming from AWS. They have not a big LLM stuff, right?
Yes.
Then there is Apple investigating RNNs again, recurrent neural networks, and time series is also a topic for them. So there are not new, but maybe different players when it comes now to physical AI, or let's call it world models. Then we have the Prometheus guys by AWS, by Jeff Bezos. So do we will see now new players on the field that they are focusing on world models instead of LLM technology or Gen AI technology?
Yeah, I have this feeling, but again, it's very personal, right?
Yeah, sure.
I have this feeling that it like LLMs and agents have become almost something like the software engineering or software development 2.0, right? I've been saying this for some time already, but it's really like for people, it's almost like obvious to use LLMs for coding, right? It's like agents, etc., etc. And we can really start thinking about those as layers that are like pretty high. And then people also start realizing that, yes, if you want to get something deeper, you need to go deeper in these layers of abstraction. And there's this place for word models. Because after all, like, yeah, LLMs, yeah, we can't just grow them forever. But they are reaching this point that, yes, they can call so-called tools or some internal models to really get something very quickly and accurately. And this is also maybe a good point, this trustworthiness, reliability, robustness. So these are the strengths of combining symbolic and this data-centric AI.
Do you see their ambitions when it comes to Anthropic or OpenAI starting the race when it comes to world models, or do they focus on their LLM stuff?
So it's very hard to say because they are so secretive that it's really hard. I know that there is this initiative at both actually about life sciences. I think Anthropic pushes this a bit more. But what does it mean? I don't know. I still believe that they really look into LLMs. I think that what these companies try to do as well is to be this like universal layer across multiple applications. So this is something that, yeah, you want to do something for healthcare? Sure. So here is our agent, right? And it uses something internally, some tools. I think that still, I think they still don't have enough capacity, in my opinion, to work on something more specific. So what I mean by that is that if there is some startup X or Y or Z that actually has some deeper knowledge in something, they can be much better and much faster.
Domain-specific knowledge, right?
Exactly. Domain-specific knowledge.
That's interesting. What topics are we overlooking at the moment? What should we be paying more attention to from your personal perspective?
Yeah. So from my personal perspective in general, I would say that it is probably a very good moment to start looking into breadth instead of depth. So again, like, I think like really, I like the recent funding round for Anthropic ended up with like 30 something billions of dollars, right? They're being valued at the level of 380, I think, or something like that, billions. So yeah, I personally, I don't see any reason why we should look into LLMs anymore in their current form. I think that if we want to look into LLMs, we should definitely look for something different. So again, going in breadth. I think personally, as a generative person, I really hate the idea of tokenization. I think it's really broken.
Okay, why is it broken?
Yeah, this is, I think, a topic by itself, but in general, and I don't want to get too technical here, but in general, the problem is that we have very specific methods for tokenizing inputs.
Yeah.
So this tokenization works as feature engineering. And so, for instance, if I want to add a new letter that can completely change a word, right, and the meaning. If I want to add one letter, well, my tokenizer not necessarily allow that because one token is a combination of few characters. And then if I want to add new letter, then I would maybe get 3 new tokens. So then it is not this generative way of thinking. It's like now it's this a very strong intervention that would split this token into 3. And then the whole probabilistic model is destroyed because, yeah, you have to remove everything and start from scratch or something like that. So these are these ideas that I think also constrain ourselves in terms of tokenization. Also, I think that what we, in general, I would say that even though, I live in California right now, but I feel this a cold breeze of the AI winter in some sense.
Okay.
This is maybe a big statement, but again, I see that there is like so gigantic amounts of money being invested, right? And now, like everyone is so secretive, right? Every team, every lab, also in academia, right? The competition is so fierce and crazy that everyone keeps their foundings to themselves. And as a result, I have a feeling that there are like multiple, and I mean really like dozens or even more labs working on the same topics. They are making the same mistakes, and there is this lack of knowledge flow, because like people don't publish negative results. So now it's like we are in this, like, why AI
It's a little bit cherry picking, right?
Exactly.
When I see some papers, they only compare their best results with a worst result by another model, and it's a little bit cherry picking in the papers.
Yes. And it's cherry picking for sure. There is like, oh, I have my specific application, so I compare to these generic methods. So it's like I'm better. On the way, we did gazillion of experiments and no one knows about those because we don't publish that. We don't share about them. Like, I think that like the AI field has moved so fast because of this like hacker kind of approach, GitHub, publicly available repos, sharing knowledge. This is how allowed us to boost this performance so fast and so greatly. And now we are at this point that everyone keeps everything for themselves. So it's not necessarily from the methodological point of view that there is this AI winter, but it's like we don't collaborate maybe so strongly anymore. And that's why we are getting into these epsilon steps of improvements.
Ah, that's interesting. So do you think that they are hiding something because they can't solve everything what they promised, or what is the idea there?
Oh, yes, that's also for sure. So again, because it's money, right? And money makes the
Workaround.
Exactly. So first, of course, you can't say that, that's why everyone says that, yeah, in 2 years we'll get this AGI, right? We
Yes.
heard that last year, so probably this year we'll hear again, like in 2 years. It's not working as greatly as everyone anticipated. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, well, if I make gazillion of experiments, this is our knowledge because we see all the negative examples. So we won't share this with anyone. Let them figure this out by themselves. And so that's why we are ahead of everyone else. If we can come up with some very particular way of training, let's keep it to ourselves, right? So and so on, so on. So it's definitely like gatekeeping for sure, like everything here.
So AI is becoming a business model, right? So it's not research anymore.
Exactly. That's why there are so many amazing and beautiful, actually, papers again from academia, right? We had this period of time where Google ruled the AI field, and there were like always like, 20% of papers at all conferences were from Google or something. Now I think this is shifting again towards academia. I think now I see more interesting papers from academia.
At the end, when it comes to papers, do you have any paper recommendation at the end?
Right. So I think that like very recently, it's always like hard to pick these days because of so many papers.
Yeah, it's cherry picking.
Yes, again, start picking again. Yes. But I saw a very, very interesting paper like from 2 weeks ago or so, maybe a bit less. Generative modeling via drifting from Harvard and MIT, or MIT and Harvard, led by Kaiming He, the guy from residual neural nets. And this is like this new way of training generative models by looking into this, I would say, physics influenced or physics like inspired idea that we look into drifting fields, and then when like we can say an example on a particle just stops, it means that it is in this high probability region. So this is what we want to sample. So very interesting concept. I think that this is something that we should definitely look into. I think from the template, I assume this was submitted to ICML or something. And so this is a very interesting paper. So generative modeling via drifting. And again, as I mentioned, MIT plus Harvard, right? So again, academia. So this is something interesting. And the second thing I want to really highlight, that there's, in my opinion, especially for applied projects, there's like a lot of room for combinations of the simulators, digital twins, right? So this more symbolic AI and this data-centric AI neural nets, because symbolic AI gives us this trustworthiness or predictability, right? Not necessarily maybe accuracy, but we can boost accuracy by having this data-centric AI. And I'm pretty sure that there are many startups doing that, but there are also many need to come.
Jakub, it was again a pleasure. Thank you for 25 minutes state of AI in 2026. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Robert. Take care.